Watashi wa Kira. Anyways, that's gonna be in there. 3, 2, 1. And we start off with that.
Sure. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to Once Upon a Mental Crisis.
We are on episode 5.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Welcome to our episode 5, Embracing Self-Love, Journey to Self-Discovery and Acceptance. Yay!
Woohoo!
I love talking about this.
And as always, we always start with checking in.
Checking in.
How you been?
July feels so short. Or felt so short.
I know.
Yeah. We're already halfway through the year. A lot of crazy things happen in the world. And I got a haircut.
She did it
She
herself.
went short. Girl, I had my Britney moment. I felt so happy once I cut it.
Yeah.
I was like smiling
It
to
looks
myself.
good on you.
Thank you. I did it to myself. I mean, I asked my sister-in-law, but it was just like, I couldn't get time to do it, and I was like, I need to take this off. My hair was dry, and it was splitting, and I was like, fuck it. Let's start, have a new beginning, restart. So, I feel good.
Yeah, good for
Short
you.
hair Macy is back. So, yes. Other than that, it's a lot more of just discovering myself, you know, and just like learning about myself, moving forward, being brave again. A lot of inner work.
For
So
sure.
that's been fun. And I think a lot more photography gigs this month too for me.
Yay!
So that's good. A lot of new things coming up. So yeah. How was your July?
Yeah, it went super fast. I'm so exhausted, but the exhaustion is mostly because I feel like I've been doing, every day has been something. And I also got sick. So I'm exhausted from that.
She did. The whole world broke loose.
Yes. But yeah, no, since like the beginning of July, like it was like 4th of July weekend, I just had the best time with Inara. Like every day we were doing something together. I'm looking forward to just having like a good time with her and just hanging out, doing things. I don't have anything really planned, but she will be with us on Saturday.
Saturday where?
At the Multicultural Fest.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
With that being said, because this is airing on August 1st, it is Zai's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I should have brought something. Sorry. Happy birthday to Zai.
Yay.
Our favorite Leo ever. Always Leos fighting for number 1. But you know what? She was the first in August, so she won. She won.
Yep.
But happy birthday.
Thank you.
You are
34.
34 years old. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I want to say how much I appreciate you.
Aw.
And how much this podcast, without you, there is no podcast. So, yeah.
Thanks. You're making me shy. Stop.
Of course, we gotta highlight our favorite like creator here. So,
Aw, thank you.
yeah. With that being said, thank you guys so much for listening so far.
Mm-hmm.
We love it. We love all the personal messages, or you know, when we're face to face or in person with our listeners. It means a lot to us.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Yeah, any feedback, any like comments are welcomed. We love listening and hearing them, and that's the same thing. But
Yes. I promise
Yes.
more content soon. Okay. So what is self-love?
so I guess like the generic self-love, right?
The book definition
Yeah,
is
is like learning how to accept yourself for who you are and knowing that you are imperfect but still loving yourself for it.
and that's a wrap. Done. She said it so well.
Yes. But when it comes to me individually, what does self-love mean to me? Because I feel like each person has their own trauma, right? So there's a lot of healing when it comes to practicing self-love. Like for me, I grew up not feeling pretty at all. I was often called, fat. Actually, a little dark skin when I was younger. I know. For Asians, that's a thing. Like dark skin is like a thing.
Colorism
Yes. And what else? And that I was lazy. So those are the biggest thing was beauty, and then beauty.
We have the same moms.
I know, right? And being lazy, right? Growing up, I had to really teach myself how to accept who I was. And so now I'm still in the process of practicing how to love myself, even though I'm not skinny and like my face isn't symmetrical or whatever. Like I need to accept all those parts of me. Mm-hmm. And how lazy I am. How about you?
Self-love, I like to highlight that it is different for everybody, but I think the key thing is learning to, like, taking the time to love yourself, put yourself first. And to me, it's about, like, I know there's a lot of, like, memes out there saying, like, oh, self-love isn't about getting pampered, getting nails on, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think those are, like, yeah, do you, but I think those are, like, little temporary fulfillments, and that's okay too. But I think the deep level of self-love is, like, filling your own cup first. And I think that is so important, because once you fill your own cup, then they are able to fill other people's cup as well. I had a whole podcast about it, my Sharing an Evolution. It was really a podcast dedicated to my self-love journey. So when I grew up, like, I didn't learn, like, I wasn't taught self-love. Like, my mom was a very selfless person, very in the community, so it was always about doing things for others, care about others, think about what others think. And I was in a relationship by that time. I was 15, so I was always thinking about him and thinking about us, and I was very codependent, and I didn't really learn about self-love until my 20s. And I felt like in my early 20s, it was when I was in college, that's when I was, like, given the challenge, because I was doing so much for others that I was, like, so burnt out, and I was so, like, I cared about what people thought about me until I was, like, 25, and I was like, I want to learn how to be more independent, more self-reliant, and boom, the breakup happened, and that's when I was like, here is the greatest opportunity to learn about self-love. And so that was where my journey began, and I, like, never looked back since. So, and it's taught me so much. I'm still learning, like, self-love, healing, whatever, everything else is such a journey. It's not a, like, end destination. Like, it's a constant learning journey.
Okay, so going through, we both have gone through our own self-love journey. Like mine, I feel like as a Leo, I've always been like, I need to be, like, center of attention in a way. So I felt like what loving myself felt like and looked like was doing things that I wanted to do for my own benefit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how does that tie in being a Leo? Like how? Because, like, yeah, like, definitely let's talk about that. Like, you want to be in the limelight, spotlight, but why? How does that fulfill you? And how does self-love, how has self-love helped you in, like, learning? Because, like, okay, let's jump it kind of to forward. Like, yeah, like, spotlight, it gives you the validation. What does it give you? Satisfaction, attention, right? Yeah. But like, learning that you don't need other people's attention or validation, how do you heal that part of yourself?
Yeah, so it's I feel like it's kind of, like, weird when I think about it. I think it's kind of weird what is weird? Like, my self-love journey.
Okay.
Because, like, when I was when I was a kid, I was like, I liked being the center of attention. I liked, like, being with my group of friends and, like, kind of, like, being their leader. Like, it made me feel important.
Yeah.
right? And then when I hit my, like, basically when I hit puberty and into high school, and even a little part of like my early 20s, my self-confidence like crashed.
And why?
Why? Well, I feel like it's just a normal thing for teenagers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, like our self-confidence and
issues.
self-esteem issues. They're just like, if no one is there to really pump you up, hype you up, then, and all you hear is negative things about you, then you become really insecure. And
Right.
I became really insecure. And so when I was like, okay, I'm going to accept myself for who I am, then it means that I have to accept that I like the attention, and that the attention can be something that I create
Yeah.
for myself.
I 100% vouch that you should always be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like when I say that's very Leo of me, it's also me telling myself that this is my nature to want to be in attention, so I shouldn't guilt myself for wanting to be in the spotlight. As long as I'm doing it for the right things.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Then I feel that that's really me celebrating myself, is feeling valued for the things that I want to be valued for.
And you know what? Like, seeking attention isn't gonna kill anybody if you do the right way.
Right.
I think that's what she means.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Because it can be taken
like
the wrong way.
Yeah, like as a woman to woman, you are celebrating your own crown without stealing other women's crowns.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've learned that a lot too, is because like I'm also, I want to be a caring person, so I don't want to like steal other people's limelights or like whatever. Like with my, how I value myself, I also want to teach other people how to value themselves. That's why I became an empowerment coach, is because I feel so good about who I am that I want to uplift others too.
Of course.
So I guess, yeah, that answers like how I want self-love to, or how I feel like it should feel.
When you're celebrated.
Yeah. When I feel celebrated and I'm able to celebrate others without feeling like they're dampening my light.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Mine's the opposite. Mine is like, if you leave me alone. Oh my god. Well, she's a Leo. I'm the freaking Pisces. So like, I mean, I would say I'm an ambivert borderline, but it's like, on my best days, I am an introvert. So it's like, give me alone time. Give me a dark room. Give me. How did we end up being friends?
They say opposites come together.
And then we also look alike. So that's so weird.
That's true.
Yeah, I never thought about how self-love should feel like, but I feel like self-love feels like a warm, cozy sunshine. Yeah, it feels like that. And I can sleep in on a sunny day. That's my self-love. At least that's how it feels to me. But yeah, no, self-love just feels calm to me. Yep.
I'm such a fiery aura, because while you were saying that to me, I'm like, it's also like not giving a fuck about anything and anybody.
Oh, for sure.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my peacefulness sounds like. She's like, applaud here. And I'm like, oh, peace. I'll edit some sounds in that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so what barriers exist that stop us from healthy self-love?
Well, I said this earlier already, but you know, as a child, like growing up, basically, if you don't have people around you to uplift you,
Support you.
yeah, then it's gonna be harder into your adulthood. Because for me, even though I'm like so hurrah about self-love, there are days, several days, that I feel not that great. You know, like I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, you know, my mom's right. And it's that
She's wrong.
right, exactly. You know, it's all those voices in my head from other people that replay in my head because I wasn't taught how to love myself growing up.
Criticism is hard because it replays in your head. That's why people should be should be watching what they're saying
Yeah,
to people.
be kind to each other.
Yeah.
For the most part, is just the self-talk and the criticism and
How about being a mother and all, like, being a full-time working mom, always having to do things, and then don't having the time to focus on yourself. That's a barrier in itself.
Yes, that's true. I guess I don't think about it much because I pretty much would give up anything for my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's the part where I don't think about myself too much because I want my daughter to feel loved and taken care of.
That's valid. And I I'm maybe selfishly talking about, like, from a person who doesn't have a mom, but, like, I hear stories about mothers who just own that title of being mother, but you kind of forget that you're also an individual too. So don't get lost in that.
Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to be a mom, so I wonder if that's why, like...
And you're doing a great job.
Yeah, being a mom, that's just me.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. I still think that you have time to get ready. Look at you. She always comes dressed up for work. Like, she is, like, sparkly, and she takes care of the studio. She takes care of her colleagues. Like, she is amazing. And then she comes home and becomes a mom. So I think, like, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. And I also appreciate you because you often remind me, you know, of these things that I'm doing because I don't recognize it myself. You know, I'm so in my own world, making sure that everything's taken care of, that I forget to recognize myself. So I appreciate the people around me, especially you and my husband and all my other friends who are like, yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am doing great.
I think to add for my history of, like, learning how to self-love, I think because being in a relationship for so long, like, because I wasn't taught self-love, I thought love was just like I became codependent and, like, dependent love and self-love and, like, validation from my partner. And obviously it's like, yeah, it's great, but, like, when you depend on it, it becomes really toxic and unhealthy because, like, I don't know how to learn to love myself and how I should, and learning not to depend on others. So yeah, I guess, like, I consider that a barrier. From my own experiences, a barrier to practicing healthy self-love is, like, I don't know, the word just pops in my head is surviving. When I'm, like, trying to make ends meet, trying to pay my bills, trying to, you know, you have so many things going on in our lives, like career, friendship, social life, bills, you know, finances. It's like, it's chaotic, and you don't even have time to just be like, okay, I don't want to think about anything else. But
I will say you do a very good job taking care of yourself.
Do I?
Yeah, because I asked her to go hang out with me last night, and she said no.
That's too. It's like balancing the whole circus act.
Yeah, I'm her barrier. I'm one of her barriers.
Not really. Don't say that.
I know, I'm
You're
just
not.
joking.
You're probably a cobweb, but, like, not a barrier. You can list a million things, a million barriers, but most importantly, is just don't forget to love yourself. Take the moment. It's kind of similar to what I said earlier, but I think for me is the mental health. I'm not, like, diagnosed, but I'm, like, dealing with depression or anxiety. I think that is a huge barrier that stops you from practicing self-love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. That's why go to therapy if you don't feel good about yourself.
I don't know where I will say this, but I guess I'll just say it now. But when I was thinking about this podcast, going to therapy, yes, self-love exists, and you can practice it, but I feel like it's not the cure to all things. And I feel like you can do all these self-love, do your best, but when you know it's not working, that's when you know to seek help. And that's okay. Like, don't be ashamed to seek help. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for me, I advocated for so much because it was my first step into getting better. I was in a very deep and dark spot. So, like, exactly when you're at the part where you feel like you can't do it on your own anymore, seek help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with that, how do you practice self-love?
So, fun fact is I actually don't go to therapy anymore. Um,
Me too, because I can't afford it right now. But go on.
for me, it's not because I can't afford it. It's just, it's mostly I'm way too busy now too. But I also feel like I've learned a lot from going to therapy. And I'm at a point where I feel like I'm at a good spot where I am balancing healthy practices in my daily life.
That's okay. I mean, not just financially, but I'm really grateful. I emailed my therapist the other day to when we were closing my account. I just thanked her for for helping me because it was like definitely a moment where I just had to unpack a lot of things. And once I did, like she gave me tools to help alleviate a lot of my triggers and whatnot, and see a lot of, or like even label a lot of things that I was going through. And now I can use those things moving forward. And I don't really have to depend on like consistent therapy. Like, but I know that once, in the future, I would love to go back to it, So I guess, normal to take pauses in therapy. And
It is,
yeah, so therapy is a self-love practice.
Yeah. And I'm glad that, like, when you ended your sessions with her, she gave you tools to use. And that's what makes therapy so good, is like you go there and you learn tools to practice how to take care of yourself mentally. And I wanted to add, like, even though I don't go to therapy, I'm still on my antidepressants. So that also helps a lot. I'm not anxious all the time, so I'm able to think rationally through a lot of the things that I go through. And when I feel like I'm not thinking rationally, I know that even though I am not thinking rationally, I still need to express my emotions. And that's also a form of loving myself too, is like, I'm not just going to push everything down inside myself, because I used to do that a lot. And because of that, that's what made me so anxious and depressed, is because I wanted something a certain way, but I felt like I was out of control of it. But now I know that if I feel a certain way about a situation, I need to express myself and think of a way to control the situation that works for me and helps me feel better about the situation.
My recent practice of self-love is doing my own nails now.
Yes.
So, I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, like I just pop in a movie and just like go in on my nails. That's like, and it takes like 2-3 hours, but these took 5 hours.
Dang.
I think a practice that I really, really love and always promote is journaling. Once I had my quarter life crisis, I like picked up journaling again, and I have like 5-6 books of within this past 7-8 years of just journaling, and it's helped me so much because I used to have so much negative self-talk, a lot of depressive thoughts, that when I was able to channel it into my writing, it like just emptied it.
Yeah.
Like instead of just keeping it all in here, you have to empty it. It's so liberating. And I really think for people who do overthink and do have a lot of negative self-talk, just write it out, write it on paper, and then through paper cultivate positive thoughts. Like and I feel like I've manifested a lot of things in my life through writing too. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, journaling is great because it's like what we both said. It's like instead of just holding it in, you're letting it out and you're letting it empty out of your brain. Along with journaling, I also love meditation. A lot of people don't like to do it because they're like, what does it do? Or like they think it's boring. Like,
I think people just, it's like a nervous laugh. Like
Yeah,
people
for sure.
just don't know what they're doing. They just giggle. Like,
that's why it's always best to do guided meditations first. YouTube has some, Spotify has some. I mean, anywhere you can listen to podcasts, there's some guided meditation.
Some kind of medication.
Yes.
No, also, I don't like the breathing ones because I'm really bad at breathing. So they were like, yeah, I struggle. I struggle with like counting breaths.
Yeah, I don't like doing the counting breaths either.
Like,
So it's
I
fair.
want to breathe on my own. Thank you.
Yes. I just like the one where they tell you to just take a deep breath in and then let it out. I will say though, I don't like counting, but I like the one where you take a deep breath in and then you hold it and then you let it out. That
I
one
don't
feels
like
really
holding
good
breath,
to me.
but I want to breathe on my own. But yes, there's so many good ones. I don't really necessarily do the guided ones, only when like severe cases I do need it. But I like more like spiritual chanting and mantras and stuff. Those are really good. Oh, affirmation, positive affirmation meditation, those are bomb. So definitely.
Or just turn on some calming music and just sit there.
Have you ever thought of recording your own positive affirmation mantras? Maybe you can make money off of it. Just saying. Maybe you should do it.
No, it is. I want to do guided meditations, recordings. I also want to do them in person as well.
Yeah.
But like you told me yesterday, I had to do one thing at a time.
Yes, she does. Which reminds me of, in our early years of Z3 group, she used to lead meditation groups.
Uh-huh.
That was really fun.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing it. Actually written or adapted some common guided meditations, and I've added my own scripts to it too. Yeah, so it's something that's in my head that I want to do. It's just, like I have to take one thing at a time. Another really good meditation, like guided meditation for when you have really like negative thoughts is Leaves on a Stream. That is my ultimate favorite one.
Leaves on a Stream?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yes. So basically you close your eyes. You either, if you could find a stream or a river nearby you.
Oh, okay.
Then go to that. Or if you can't, then like turn on some background sound, like maybe the river flowing sound or just any calming music, and close your eyes and visualize the stream flowing in front of you. And the idea is that leaves will begin to float on the stream. And as the leaves begin to float down, you're putting any thoughts that pop in your head onto that leaf. Exactly. So it's like a mental journaling. It's like, okay, so the first thing that pops in my head is that I am not pretty enough. So I'm going to visualize that in my head, and I'm going to visualize me putting it on the leaf. And sometimes that thought will still linger because maybe it's a really heavy thought, and that's okay. But as what you do is you tell yourself, I see you, I acknowledge you, now it's time to let you flow away. And then the idea is then it will slowly flow away, and the thought or the impact of that thought decreases as you continue to do this meditation.
That's cool. Similarly to just like throwing away bad thoughts that I used to do. It's kind of witchcrafty when I think about it, but my friend encouraged it. But it's not witchcrafty. People probably do this in like therapy too. But write a letter. So maybe someone that has broken your heart, someone that's really like hurted you. Write a letter to them, fold it up, and burn it. Burning letters is, I think, a technique of getting things off of your mind. Having closure. I believe in closure so much, especially self-closure. What another method I used to do was, so not to be so woo-woo here, but because I associate myself with the water element so much, I think in the past I've written a letter and I would like channel it to this rock and I would just throw in the water. And it's such a, again, liberating thing to do. And I think it's a form of self-love because you are healing. You're choosing to heal, and you're lifting that wound off of you, and you're stepping forward into healing. So
Yeah. My belief is that it doesn't matter how woo-woo it sounds, as long as you're not hurting someone else.
Yes.
Do whatever helps you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's why a lot of people go into spiritualism is because, you know, our daily life is not really geared towards taking care of ourselves. So we have to find methods and practices that help remind us, okay, we need to take a pause in our life and remember to take care of ourselves and to not let the outside world impact us so much. So like find ways to, this is, you know, the reason why like introverts like isolating themselves so much is because it blocks the outside world from them. They're in their own bubble and they're allowed to be who they are without anyone interrupting that flow. And that is something that everybody should be practicing. Like, you know, as the mother now, as much as I want to give and love my family, I like last night I kicked my husband and my baby out of the house.
Confession.
I was like, I wanted a girls' night, and so my husband and my daughter spent the night at his parents, and I was able to just have like a fun night with my girls. And if I need time alone, I'll just ask my husband, like, can you watch the baby for a little bit? And he will, and I'm allowed to like take a nap or just have a moment to myself to do whatever I want to. And find people who are willing to do that for you. Like, I have a whole list of babysitters that I can call up.
Does.
Yeah.
When talking about practice self-love, like, what about like hobbies and like artsy, crafty stuff do you do that contributes to self-love?
Well, the first thing that I ever did that contributed to self-love was podcasting.
Yay!
Yes.
No, same here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, when I created Once Upon a Mental Crisis, it was me learning how to express myself in a healthy way. Because, like, I published my podcast, and in my podcast, like, I had to be wary about what I was saying, too. But with that being said, I still told myself, like, no matter what or who is listening, I'm going to be honest, 100% honest, and express myself. And it really helped because my friends and my family listened, and they were like, I didn't know you thought that way.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, and I was allowed to be on a deeper level with a lot of people in my life because of it. And then it also taught me, like, hey, this is who I am, and people like it, so I'm going to continue being this way.
I think that's probably why podcasts have been such a big thing these past few years, this past decade, I want to say, because when you're in a room by yourself or with people close to you, or with guests, like, it's like a moment between you and them, or between you and yourself, because you're given this chance just to air out anything. I'm not always saying like being carelessly or anything, but like you're able to be like vulnerable. A lot of like podcasts out there are so vulnerable, and that people love it. And they're like just taking the time to speak some truth and share experiences. Podcast is just great for just sharing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like we often feel like we're struggling on our own, and most of us are. You know, we don't. I mean, you know, some of us may not have a group of friends or family there to support us, but what podcasting does is it helps you relate to other people. It's like you may not be the only one going through the hardships that you're going through, so you may learn from another person. Okay, this is what they're doing, maybe I should try it.
Yeah, and that's why we both did our own podcast, and we are doing this podcast too. It's just to share our experiences, making sure people are less lonely, you know. On my podcast, there were times where I wrote letters to myself, and I would just read that, and that was the episode.
That's cute.
What about your positive catchers? Were they kind of a form of self-love?
Well, I'm trying to think about like a linear process, because it was podcasting, and then I did mentoring and coaching.
I'm thinking about myself literally, and I did so many hobbies.
I know.
I'm like,
I know. That's why I'm
what
like
the
trying to
heck
think
did
through
I
all the
do?
things that I ever did.
One time I did poems. One time I did. I tried painting. I think I do sewing. But I'm not sure if that was because self-love or it was just like decompressing. So that wouldn't count. sewing is one.
Yeah, like for me, I did so many things that at one point I felt like a failure actually, because like all these hobbies that I try to do like knitting. I'm like I actually really like knitting, but I'm such so heavy-handed that my scarves, whatever what I was working on, always came out like really like tight, and like it was just like it just felt like a tense hobby for me. Right. And I would jump from one hobby to another. And then when I started doing the positivity catchers, that's when like I felt like, yes, this is it. Mm-hmm. Like my hand strength is being used for something that's artistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking about it. I think podcasting and journaling was my biggest thing of self-love. Mm-hmm. And jumping back to podcasting, not only was it just like making our own podcast, but listening to a lot of podcasts that were about self-love and self-discovery. Mm-hmm. And I could name so many podcasts that have helped me along my journey. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful for them.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Same.
Listening to podcasts, it's a life changer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like if you're listening to ours, then you might be listening to others. Yeah. So if you guys have like a podcast that you guys love and recommend, please share it. Not just with us, but like everyone else. Like, we just need people out in the world learning how to love themselves, because loving yourself will help you love others in a healthy way, and the world will just be more kinder.
Yeah. All right. What about practicing self-love and relationships with your friends and family? How important is it to sustain healthy boundaries?
Oh, so healthy. Well, just like you were talking about when you were in your relationship with your ex.
Yes.
Right. Like codependency, yes. Right? It's okay to depend on each other, but there's a limit.
Yeah, I was going to go with, once you said something in the earlier, but it's like self-love isn't to like aim to learn how to love yourself alone. I think it's also you share that love with others too. It's not just the goal is to be isolated and be alone. It's yes, to learn how to stand on your own feet, fill your own cup, but then also building healthy relationships with people too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a thought just came up, like practicing self-love, learning how to love yourself is also learning how to forgive yourself for the flaws that you have.
Yes. Important facts.
And then when it comes to relationships, it's also then if you have learned to forgive yourself, then you also have the ability to forgive others for their flaws.
Mm-hmm. You know what word that's popped in my head? Compassion. Having compassion for yourself and others. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I learned that through my journey.
Yeah. I wish I had a little bit more compassion for my husband, though.
We won't talk about that in this episode. No, but as a married person, how do you practice self-love in a marriage? What struggles do you have?
Well, like I said earlier, like sometimes I just need time to myself. Mm-hmm. And so I ask my husband to leave me alone.
Do you know why I have you leave me alone now?
Of course I do.
Because it's funny because he's an introvert. You need time away from him.
But I guess like other ways that I practice self-love is like I have to recognize how much am I giving of myself to my family. And like, especially for not just my like husband and my child, but also like my family, my brothers and
your mom.
My mom, especially my mom, because when I wasn't working, I took my mom to all her doctor appointments. I made them. I took the calls. I made sure that she got her medication, and I saw her almost every week. I don't mind doing that. But then now that I work a lot and now that I have a family of my own, I have to recognize that I can't always give my time up for my mom. Mm-hmm. And I think my mom realizes that too. I need my distance from my family.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they drive me crazy.
Yes, I definitely know a lot of other friends who are also like caretakers, and as a family caretaker, it's tough. Like learning how to take care of others while taking care of yourself too. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah,
it's sad. Yes, but remember to take care of yourself.
And then in a relationship too, like you said, it's not just about loving yourself, but it's also like recognizing that your partner also needs time for themselves too.
Yeah.
I try to give my husband as much time as he wants. Like, he loves playing board games, so I mostly let him do whatever he wants. I complain about it a little bit sometimes if I feel like he's overdoing it, but for the most part, I recognize it's something that helps him feel taken care of.
Sure.
It's also recognizing yourself and recognizing what your family members need to.
Yeah. When talking about relationships, I think what I did was like just willingly give and sacrifice myself for my person. But I feel like that was my own toxic trait because if I read into my like charts and as a Pisces and stuff, like, and not just because I'm a Pisces, but just from who I was, like, I didn't really have my own thing going on. And I was willing to support my other person. Like, when I should have been building my own dream, stop and think about, hey, what do I want in my fucking life? You know, like,
Yeah.
and I never thought about that. I had no direction. And thankfully, I just had a big wake-up call, and I've worked on it since. So with my own like self-love with friends and family, like, yeah, when I was living back at home, I would bend over backwards for my mom, for my family, like just covering their ass, doing this, doing that, and taking care of people. And it was like I was so burnt out, and I just had the opportunity to finally like, okay, I need to open my wings again. I need to go somewhere else. I need to live for myself. I'm thankful that my friends and family were really supportive too, because they saw that, they recognized all my hard work, and it was time that I just set off again. So yeah.
Yes, good for them. Yeah. I felt like in my early 20s, I wanted to like break away, and well, I feel like maybe a lot of people feel this way. It's just like, just break away from your family and like discover yourself in like a new environment.
That's where you grow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really have much to say about self-love and friends, but I just gotta say, like, I'm glad that I have friends who also believe in the same mindset of self-love and like self-growth.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
when you find your tribe, like, you can't even, I don't have words to explain it. It's just awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, because you be yourself, and
Yeah.
like they accept you wholeheartedly. Yeah,
Like, we're all in
yeah.
this together. We all want growth, and unfortunately, there are people who just don't and are comfortable with who they are, and we're some people with bad habits, bad toxic traits, and we're like, bye. So yeah.
Yeah.
What about at work?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up this conversation for at work because I feel like not a lot of people practice self-love at work. Because we recognize work as something where we're always giving our time and our effort.
And it's professional. Things
Right.
are professional.
Yeah. Especially for the older generation, and like they have the mindset that when you're at work, it's all about professionalism. It's all about like giving your time and effort 100% to the company, and
Being loyal, faithfully loyal.
exactly. And so then you get burnt out, and you start to hate the job, and then you start to hate yourself for
resent.
staying at the
Yeah.
job, and like everybody else around you. So how do you practice self-love at work?
I used to have a really good work-life balance. Like, I come to work, I get out, and that's it. You know, that was it. I think I survived the most with that. I was gonna turn back to that, but no. No, it's different because I have friends. Yeah, I work with friends. Like, again, like Zion was my friend before she was my coworker. So it's definitely new territory that I had to deal with. And would I recommend it? No.
Hey.
No, it's great working with her, but it's like it's hard to have that boundary. You know, like when should we focus on work? When should we just laugh and catch up?
Yeah.
It's tough. And even when we're hanging out, when do we stop talking about work?
So true.
So it's tough. I think that's the reason why I had such a. I would come home and I would just focus on life. And that, like, having, for me mentally, that boundary is black and white and it helps me, keeping me sane. But I mean, after the fact, I think I just felt passionless with the job. So I just got out of it. Self-love at work is having a great support team. I have people who come up to me who compliment my performance, and that gives me the whole world. Like she knows, like there are days where I feel like crap about my performances. I feel like I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough. And then I would just have like random colleagues not just to be like, hey, you did amazing, that was awesome, I love seeing your work. And it's like, oh, you don't know how much I needed that at that moment. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you to those people too who recognize her. Because sometimes when I recognize her, just kidding. But no, for sure, like having people, finding your tribe at work.
Yeah.
You know, because there's, you know, life out of work, and you have your friends outside of work. They are your tribe for your personal life and whatnot. And then at work, you need to find people who also validate and value you as a employee and coworker. And that's what I told myself. I've shared this with you before.
Yes, so get to this topic. Yes, let's talk about it. Valuing yourself.
Yes, valuing yourself as an employee. So in my previous job, you know, I feel like I was appreciated, you know, like I was recognized for, you know, my hard work, and like it just came to a point where I felt like there was no longer any worth staying there because there's no growth. And the one time that I spoke up was also the time that I was shut down. And for years at that company, I kept quiet and I just did my job. But then I started to resent the job because it felt like nothing was changing. The company was growing for sure, but the environment wasn't improving. You know, there was very toxic relationships, and what do you want to say?
I was gonna say you were like this budding flower in this garden of weeds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
I'm so visual.
Right, you are. And like I felt like a lot of my other coworkers are feeling the same way. Like there was no communication between management and us as a team, and like it wasn't about working together. It was just about them telling us what to do. And for me, that's not necessarily the best or healthiest work environments, you know? Like, I get that you're my boss, but talk to me, like, discuss things with me. And, like, at that job, I had worked there for, like, 5 years, I think, and not once did I ever have, like, a one-on-one with my manager. There was never, like, a work evaluation. There was never, like, oh, how are you doing? You know, what can I help you with? It was all just through email, and I almost rarely ever saw my management team. So when I quit that job and I stopped working, you know, that was also like a period of self-discovery and like self-love. Is like, okay, I need to take care of my mental health because I had just lost my dad too, and I need to figure out what the next steps in my life are that coincide with who I am. So when I went to apply, when I finally applied for new jobs, for like a more permanent full-time job, I was like, okay, when I'm going into my interview, the one question, because before this, when I went to interviews, I didn't have any questions, right? But this one time, after I quit my job, the one question that I wanted and needed to ask was, how do you value your employees?
Good question.
Yeah. A thought just popped in my head. It's like, that should be a question that I should ask my management often. Because one thing that I told myself is too, like management, yes, they are the people who hold your position and like your job security, but they're also just people. Like, they're people who have emotions and thoughts, and like they're just working their job just like you. So yes, you should be professional and respect them, but also realize that if they're mistreating you or if they're not valuing you as a person, don't be afraid of them. Be honest with them in the, most respectful way. Express yourself. And if ultimately you express yourself and they don't accept it, then you don't have to stay there. You don't have to put yourself in a situation that doesn't value you and your opinion. But with that being said, I'm also a person who I believe that, if you're not happy, try to figure out where that unhappiness is coming from first. Is it you? Is it the position? Is what you're doing not coinciding with what you're passionate about? Or is it the people that you're working with? Which part of the work environment is making you unhappy? Because most often you can change it. And if you figure out that it's something that you can't change, then that's when you can decide to start applying for new jobs. And it's okay to be hopping from job to job as long as you're not quitting for invalid reasons. Like, it's okay to look for that job that makes you happy. And when I started working at my current job, like, it was a whole new experience. Like, I have one-on-one conversations with my manager often. And yes, there are times where we disagree, and there have been times where I feel like I've pushed the boundaries with her. And likewise, like, she's kind of pushed the boundaries with me too. But, I'm still in the process of like trying to figure out like a healthy communication and boundary with my manager and with my coworkers. And for now, so far, it seems like it's working. Things will always be a little bit rocky because people are different, but find a work environment that just fits your personality. Also recognize yourself as an employee too, and as a person, and how you're fitting into the work environment too.
A lot of golden nuggets of wisdom right there. I have nothing more to say. She said it all.
Thank you.
Because that's been kind of like heavy in our conversations lately.
Yeah.
And definitely game changer, because I never really thought about my own self-worth or self-love in an environment, like a work environment. How the heck did I even work in this past my whole life? But I don't know, because I applaud Zai for doing so much inner work and work at work. That's really amazing, because no one really thinks about this. Like, I am those people, those zombies who just go to work and clock out and come back home. And I was just happy with that.
Well, I mean, if you're happy with just doing that, that's fine too.
Exactly. Like I told you, I'm a zombie. I'm a sheep. I don't know. Like, I always saw work as a very like authoritative kind of figures. I never questioned. I just keep my head down. I do my work and I go home. That's it. It makes my life simple. But I think now I'm older, like I can sense when I'm unhappy, when I'm unmotivated, things I want more of, and I'm gonna work towards that. So
yeah. I also want to add, as much as I love my job and my position right now, I'm also building my own businesses because I'm such an entrepreneur. Like, that's me recognizing myself. Like one thing with my job right now is I'm a front desk executive, the receptionist. I answer the phone calls. I'm there supporting other people. But when I'm doing my business, I'm supporting myself. But I'm doing something that feels myself. And that's why I have a full-time job and I have my businesses, because my energy can't go towards building someone else's business. I also want to build my business. I want to be.
Our business.
Oh. Our business. I see what you were trying to do. Okay. But yes, our businesses,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm such a Leo. I like to be center of attention. I want to be recognized for my hard work. And I feel like the only way that I can achieve that is by building my own business, by achieving my own success and achievements. And then to do it with my best friends, that's even better because we're two different personalities. Once we achieve our goals together, that's going to be even greater because we did it together. And
Yes.
I'm doing something that I love with somebody that I love.
Oh, stop it. Stop.
Yeah, so that's, you know, self-love too. It's like doing things because it makes you happy, fulfilled, and working with people who make you happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, for sure. And knowing your worth. I think we haven't mentioned that is self-love is knowing we are worth. Mm-hmm. And that's what helped me get out of my past relationship. And I know that you talked about self-love. Sorry, I'm moving past work now. I know you talked about self-love in marriage, but I didn't really talk about self-love in dating in my single era. But you, oh my God, you learn so much about your self-love while you're in and out of situationships, out of dating. It's like a test every time. It's like, how much do you love yourself? How much are you not going to settle with some bum-ass losers? Let's be serious.
Bum-ass losers.
You know, like, it is really putting yourself out there, knowing what you deserve is the greatest self-love. A lot of people probably will call you out, but it's just like, no, this is just knowing what my worth is and knowing what I deserve.
Facts.
So you can settle, but I don't have to settle. So
let's wrap up. What were your highlights and key takeaways from this episode?
again, I feel like we only scratched the surface because we have so many things, like areas and stuff that we talked about.
Sure, for sure.
But I think we never really had this talk about work and self-love before, so I really love that. How it looked like for the both of us and ways you could practice self-love. I feel like I've only talked about how I used to practice self-love, but I don't like question myself how I do it nowadays too. So gotta remind myself, you know?
Yeah, and I'll go along. I'll add to that and say like, the journey of self-love is an ongoing journey. Like, you know, even as you age, like we're in our 30s now, you know, people are afraid of aging, but aging is something that's gonna happen no matter what.
It's inevitable and it's so beautiful.
Exactly. So learn to embrace it, and it's gonna be an ongoing journey all until, you know, the day, you know, you take your last breath. It's like life is beautiful, and what makes it beautiful is learning to love yourself throughout the whole process.
And I like how you in this the title is acceptance. Self-love is accepting who you are.
Yeah, so, you know, thank you so much again for tuning in. Subscribe, follow, do all those things. Did I miss something?
Share.
Yeah. Comments.
Yes.
Please share your thoughts, and let us know what you think, because we would appreciate any stories, any advice from you guys, what you guys been doing, and we'd love to share it with the world too. So yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
Bye.